What's up, guys? It's Chris. Today, I wanted to talk to you about one of Dead by Daylight's biggest problems ever, the nurse. Yesterday, we ended up playing a game against the nurse running meta on the new Borgo, and it made me realize something.
Why? Why do you need that?
They could say the game's balanced if Survivor's broken, but they have one killer like this in the game, they can call the game balanced. And at this point, I really believe that. Similar to how the nurse can prevent behavior from making certain killer perks, she also allows the devs to overbuff survivors because she can deal with chase and covering gens extremely easily. She is far easier than any other killer in the game to win with, and while she probably has the highest skill floor because you can't just walk around with her, the skill ceiling isn't very far past that. You can make lots of mistakes on Nurse, but at the end of the day, if you're running strong stuff on her, you're gonna win. And to me, this is a massive problem. It's the same argument I have for stuff like the MFT resilience meta. Survivors can make tons of mistakes, but through freebie chase perks and insane gen speeds, they can still win. And personally, I don't think either are healthy for the game in the long run. What would happen to DBD if killers were like Survivors, running MFT resilience deja vu in every single one of their matches? If all the killers just switched to Nurse and just played her every single game. I'll tell you right now, I personally would not enjoy playing against 15 nurses in a row, and right now, I'll also tell you, I only see her 1 in maybe 25 games as Survivor. So why am I making this video? I have made multiple videos covering MFT at this point and why it's such a problem for the game, and I think it's only fair I address the most broken thing on the killer end as well, which is the nurse. I also wanted to give some of my thoughts on what we could do to Nurse to make her balanced and seed the game in a little bit more of a healthy place. First though, I do want to let you guys know that in the background of this video, I'm going to be showing you a game I played as Nurse against a Swift on Batum, where I ran no perks or add-ons at all, and I'll let you be the judge on whether or not she's fair. I also do want to say really quickly that I don't believe it's fair for survivors to be overbuffed simply for the nurse existing, because again, I very rarely see this killer in my games when I play Survivor, while MFT is running rampant in pretty much 100% of my games. But I do think it's something we should address, because if we can remove broken things from both sides, I'm sure everyone will be a little bit happier. So the first thing I was thinking could happen to the nurse is giving her a significantly longer cooldown like Wesker's. Wesker's power does not ignore walls, has obvious locations he can dash, and if you start charging up his power before you can get the stack back, it resets the bar. Whereas on Nurse, if you start charging up her blink with 75% of the bar full, that is instantly transferred into progress during her fatigue, and this is just insane to me on a killer that completely ignores everything on the map, so it's definitely something I think Behavior should look into. Another thing Behavior could do to Nurse is to give her an even longer fatigue after missing a swing. This is now the second comparison I made to Wesker, but if Wesker misses a bound, he can dash extremely far away from a survivor and buy them a ton of time in chase, while he has to sit there and take a while to recharge his dashes. The nurse suffers very little punishment for messing up in this way. I'm not saying to flat out increase the fatigue, just the fatigue when she swings and misses. I mean, you look at a character like Twins, where if you miss Victor, you're in a 10-second cooldown and get kicked in the face. I think it's fair to punish the nurse of all killers a bit more. Another idea I had that I think is interesting is a rework similar to how Plague works. By default, she's a 115 killer walking around the map with no power. But the survivors walk around generating a bar above them the more that they sprint. Basically a breath meter and how much of it they've used, which is thematic for the nurse collecting breaths of her victims. If a nurse hits a survivor with the breath meter full, she gets her blinks and can use her power for a limited time. This also offers counterplay to the survivors because a lot of them could be walking around, but it also would make chases easier on the nurse if survivors don't want to build up their breath meter, because they'll take much longer to get to the gens and be even easier in chase. Those are just a few of the ideas I had. The third one would definitely have to be tweaked and ironed out, but it's just a bare bones thought I had in mind that could make the nurse much more interesting to play against. Again, I really believe the nurse just existing hurts killers as far as perk ideas go, so having her tweaked to the point she isn't miles above the rest of the roster would help game balance in general and allow for more map balance as well. Also, the thing with nurses, you know, if you're going against a new nurse who doesn't really know what she's doing, you're probably just going to win a survivor, which I don't feel the reward for. And if you're against an average or decent nurse, you're probably going to lose because the nurse is insanely powerful. I personally think having killers with such strength differences, like from Nurse to Ghostface, makes the game much harder to balance as a whole on both ends, so being able to level the playing field even slightly would help the game to trend in a healthier direction. I'm also personally tired of seeing this argument that Made for this isn't broken because Nurse just ignores it, while old Dead Hard, you know, she would have to deal with. Listen, Made for this is a completely overtuned perk, and it is off the wall. And I do think it's silly that there's perks this strong in the game that Nurse and Blight can ignore just because they're insanely strong, and the lower tier killers really have to struggle with them. I mean, it is absolutely not like every killer player in the game wants to just sit there playing Nurse. That's why you very rarely see her. They want to be playing different killers. They enjoy the playstyles of other killers and maybe don't enjoy something that's just completely broken. That's why I believe that the entire killer roster shouldn't be punished just for her existing, because it's just not even close to the most played killer in the game. So again, if we could just even it out a bit, I'd love to see where the game could be at in even a year or so. Something else while on the topic of game balance that I've thought about recently is I'd love to see if Dead by Daylight added 2 chapters a year, and then in between those 2 chapters, they did 2 full game balance changes. Similar to the perk rework we had where the meta completely shifted, I think seeing this twice a year would be amazing for the game's health and offer a lot more variety in builds and playstyles. And I know there's definitely players out there who enjoy just running the same 4 perks every game they play to try and drag them to a win. We saw it with the Dead Hard DS Unbreakable meta, we're seeing it with MFT Resilience Hope. But even though there's a handful of people who will cry super loud that their go-to build was changed, giving it some time so people could try out new stuff would be awesome in my opinion. There's so many PvP games out there that just do these full balance changes like every year, every half a year or so, and it is making these games last forever. You see it with a game like League of Legends. I'm not saying League of Legends is the best game out there. I hate that game. I quit it a long time ago. But they changed the meta and the items and everything in that game constantly spicing it up. So you never know exactly what's going to happen from patch to patch. And I think that would be amazing for this game as well. But back to the nurse, you really don't see in any other PvP game a character with such a massive strength difference compared to everyone else around her that gets left alone for this long. I do understand that Behavior generally just has a spreadsheet that they look at for stats, and if she doesn't have some insanely stupid kill rate, she probably still won't get touched. But I wanted to bring up this topic with you guys to hear your thoughts on Nurse, because I truly believe she is a huge problem for this game. Ignores everything on the map. She is essentially playing a completely different game from everyone else and has the small downside of walking slower. I am not suggesting we turn Dead by Daylight into some esport game like League of Legends when I brought that up, by the way. The game is fun and is meant for fun on both sides, which is the exact reason I wanted to have this conversation in the first place. I don't think it's fun to play against a killer that is basically legally cheating, in the same way I don't think it's fun to play against survivors who are basically legally cheating with Made for This. I want to be able to load into a game and just have a fun time with the potential for outplays on both sides and real skill expression instead of free win stuff. It's the same reason I dislike Compound 33 from Blight, the same reason I think insta-heals and brand new parts are super goofy, and the same reason I think Garden of Joy needs to be gutted. Sure, maybe there's the potential for some fun for the person using it, but playing against it can be totally miserable, and I don't think anyone wants to hop into a video game to chill out and get bombarded by broken things they can't really deal with. I hope you guys have been enjoying this perkless nurse in the background, by the way, because again, you really don't need any perks in this character to win. You can really just load up the game, slug it up a bit, and win consistently with a little practice. And the same thing can definitely go for a survivor group on comms at this point. And again, this is perkless nurse. I can queue up this character with 4 slowdowns and the extra lunge add-on. It's just not super interesting and definitely not balanced, so I just think that something's got to be done. I see stuff on both sides that are totally unreasonable in my opinion, and I think a little love from the devs could go a long way in making this a game that lasts forever. It can be super fun for everyone, have unique builds and killers, balanced maps, and 40,000 Feng Min skins. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm really curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this, on the nurse, on the map balance. If you guys even want to see this game like balanced in my opinion. Maybe there's some of you guys out there who really want to see just busts and stuff like this running around. I just don't personally find it interesting, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about it in the comments. So please let me know down in the comments what you guys would like to see done to Nurse. If you want to see anything at all, let me know what you guys want to see from DBD next and my channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.